Welcome back to another episode of Fill in the Blanks, Cuba Baseball. All three of you.
Strike three, you're out!
Well, it's been a busy start to 2017. Personally, as much as the scheduling didn't come together, I just missed out on seeing the semifinals and the finals, but was in Cuba when Grandma captured their first championship. An iteration of the Cuban National team, complete with a couple of young up-and-coming prospects, but largely a more mature team, just finished their second annual tour of the independent CanAm League. I had some up-close access and hope to bring you some of that footage and some of those photos, as well as my thoughts on the composition of that team and what the future holds for those players and the squad in general. Join me as I fill in the blanks.
That's me, Phil, a simple Nova Scotian boy who moved to the bigger city of Ottawa, Canada many years ago, picked up a camera and set out to visit as many ballparks as possible. My travels have taken me all over North America, from the majors to the minors to the independents and even Cuba. And like fine diamonds, no two are the same. Please join me as I fill in the blanks on what makes each unique and why baseball is about much more than balls and strikes. Listen to me.
Pretty good sized lead for Uelke. He's on the move. Ground ball is short. To second for Tice. The ball knocked loose. Here comes Jamie Keefe. And here comes Jamie Keefe, who wants an interference call at second base, and he probably should get one. Absolutely. Cespedes interfered with the play, period.
So, I guess we should begin at the end. You're watching what proved to be the final play of the Cubans CanAm Tour of 2017. Which elicited this response from the normally reserved manager Roger Machado, followed by the more predictable reaction from assistant and spark plug Victor Mesa. The Cubans forced the umpires to retreat to the clubhouse, call the game, and despite both teams returning to the field to shake hands, there are rumblings that the future tours are in doubt. As embarrassing as the outburst was, even though personally I miss a good dirt-kicking tirade from my baseball managers, this may have been the first real public expression of frustration by the fading baseball powerhouse. Their 5-16 performance against the Independent League continues an underwhelming trend in international competition, especially for the once dominant Cuban squad. Should we be surprised, or does every resource, even a baseball farm, stop yielding results if not properly cultivated? I've chronicled in previous videos the premier talent that has left the island, but some estimates peg 150 players fleeing in 2016 alone. Increasing numbers of players are being granted visas to play in Japan, Mexico, and Canada, as actual members from last year's touring squad faced off against their Cuban compadres, and a concurrent tour in Rotterdam, Holland stretched the roster thin to start. The lineup was decidedly more mature, with an average age approaching 30, the exceptions being youngsters Victor Mesa and Uelke's Cespedes, and consisted of many of the grandma players who captured the National Series title in January as opposed to a pure all-star team approach. The Bats, despite a lack of power, hitting only 5 total home runs chipped in, collectively batting .290, led by Las Tunas catcher Yosvani Alarcon at a robust .433. The pitching, however, was overmatched, as illustrated by their 6.67 ERA. This 7th inning siesta brought to you by Tucola. The overall collectivity of Cuban baseball talent might be greater than ever. However, it is no longer quarantined to the island. The platitudes of increased commerce between the US and Cuba may have increased foot traffic on the island, and hopefully many US dollars have trickled into Cuban pockets, but fundamentally little has changed. The Trump regime's intention to repeal certain measures doesn't move diplomacy further, but I have my reservations as to whether good faith bargaining with an eye on an economically free Cuba was a possibility, as it were. All this to say, a system to legally send Cuban baseball talent to MLB is still unlikely, made even murkier by the inability to incorporate international players into the draft. A recent piece by TSN chronicled the tale of the Gurriels, the first family of Cuban baseball. They were understandably reluctant to discuss their defection as 2017 saw the prosecution of human traffickers who exploited the current crop of Cuban baseball stars. Speculation abounds, though, that this role has been filled by the Cuban government, who are granting visas for cash or a portion of MLB riches. They, however, stand steadfast that defectors are traitors and they have no involvement.